on. I'm so honored to have him on. Honored to speak with him is William J. Murray. He is the chairman of the Religious Freedom Coalition in Washington, D.C. For more than 30 years, he's been at the forefront of social conservatism. Now, I'm going to tell you that he has appeared on all the top, all the network stations, from CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox News, and so on. All the news programs, and has authored hundreds of columns appearing online and in print in various publications. I couldn't name them all. He continues to work for the rights of Christians in America and the persecuted Christians around the world. He's got a number of different organizations. The amount, what William J. Murray does for Christians around the world is, I think, unparalleled by anyone. He has, again, the religiousfreedomcoalition.org. He also has christmasforrefugees.org and diapersforrefugees.org, and the 4 is the actual number 4. And of course, diapersforrefugees.org assists only Christians in the Middle East, and all those assist Christians in the Middle East, that is to say. But here's the real skinny and the very quickly, and we are going to forego at the bottom of the hour break, so to give Mr. Murray that's complete time. When I read the book Utopia Road to Hell, I was absolutely blown away. And and everyone knows I like books, and I say that about just about every book that I read, that I like it. But this book is special and it's different. In fact, we're going to require it. I'm going to require it. This is going to be required reading for everyone in the office, because Mr. Murray lays out. He describes the totalitarians throughout history. In my view, in order to understand what's going on today, you've got to look back at history through the lens and the context of history. And he describes not only the previous totalitarians, but the current utopians, who are determined to control the lives of every person on this planet. That's right. From vicious tyrants, you got Hitler and Stalin and Pol Pot, and to the social engineering of Woodrow Wilson and Barack Obama. Mr. Murray masterfully educates readers in this book about the utopian swath of destruction in history, and warns us of the dangers of present-day utopians, and there are many, fighting to hold power. Did you get that? That to hold power. And I think that we're seeing a lot take place here. That grasping for power is at the root of what we're seeing a lot of today. He wrote a column, as a matter of fact, it's right here. He's talking about his tour, or his trip to Cuba, and this is and we're going to post it's in westernjournalism.com, but we're going to post the link in the description. It's a fascinating article. And so I asked if he would come on, and he has kindly said yes, to talk about the essence of his book, kind of a thumbnail sketch, and then what's going on in Venezuela, and also what he experienced in Cuba. But with that, welcome, William J. Murray. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be on the program with you tonight.
Well, it's great to have you. And I do want to mention, folks, Mr. Murray's book is available for sale at the WND Superstore. Just use promo code Hagmann. That's superstore.wnd.com, promo code Hagmann. I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Murray. I learned things in your book, and I've talked about, or I've read a lot about the various characters and the various movements and the objectives. But this is one of the most thorough examinations of the utopian tyrants throughout history. Now, I just want to congratulate you on a fine book. I'm not even sure where to start, except, can you tell us a little bit about the book itself and about your writing it? I mean, it's a kind of a unique topic to write on.
Well, yes, it is. And probably the most interesting part about it is that I was raised and educated by the people that promote the utopian society. I was a red diaper baby, and by the way, if you'll ask him, Joe Farah was also a red diaper baby. There's a lot of us around, and I was raised in that Marxist environment. My Sunday school classes were Marxist-Leninist classes. They weren't on Sunday, of course. They were on a weeknight, and I knew and understood the theory. And I can understand how people, particularly this new millennial generation that doesn't really experience doesn't experience hard labor, and who is raised in a kind of coddled snowflake existence. And by that, I'm not talking about the working class and the young men and women that have to go out and get jobs as waiters and waitresses at 16, 17, 18 years old, but I'm talking about the coddled class that promotes this utopian idea. I can understand how they can get hooked on it very easily. On paper, it sounds great. On paper, it works. In the environment that I was raised in, on paper, it looked great. The problem is the application. And we could give some very, very dramatic examples. One of the greatest of which is when it was tried by the Pilgrims when they got here, and there was no private ownership, and everything was common property, and everybody worked in the field as hard as they could, and they brought in whatever they could, and they put it in a big communal pot, and then they were supposed to only take out what they needed, and the result was starvation. They almost starved to death. Fortunately, after the first year, the governor intervened, declared private property. People worked their own little plot of land, and of course, the colony immediately became successful. That is kind of the condensed story of the utopian idea, the collectivist utopian idea of from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. And notice I didn't say want. And Marx didn't say want, and utopians don't say they want. It's according to your need. It's sort of like Obamacare. We're going to prescribe to you the medical treatment and the medical insurance that you need. It might not necessarily be what you want. It might not be what you can pay for, but it's what we believe that you need. It's that whole giant pot theory. That everybody works hard, puts everything they can, everything in the pot for the good of the collective society, but people only take out what they need. Unfortunately, somebody forgot to tell 2-year-old children about this, and they grab as much as they can.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. Um, wow, wow. Are we, Mr. Murray, are we based on everything you've and your grasp of or your explanation, I shouldn't say grasp, but your explanation spoke to me directly. I mean, intellectually, it was just a fantastic read. Are we on this utopian road to hell right now? What we're seeing right now, we've seen this before in history many times, but can you kind of contextualize current events with your analysis that you have in your book, as in terms of this utopian road to hell, where we're at right now with this concept?
Well, it's sort of like the frog in the proverbial warm water that you put on the stove and he never jumps out as it boils. We have been going through decades of this road, and there has been some variance. Occasionally, we have had a few leaders or Congress come along that has stalled the forward movement of it, but it has just chugged along. The greatest advance of it, of course, was with Woodrow Wilson and Colonel House and the advent of the federal income tax, which stole the influence of the states, and then, of course, the constitutional amendment, which eliminated the Senate representing the states any longer at all because of the direct election. They're not appointed by governors, so they no longer represent the states. They represent the people just like the Congress does. And it ripped apart the fabric of the republic. and it continued to lead us down a road where we have a handful